Voices from the Mausoleum is brought to you by the You Run Podcast Network and yourunpodcast.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. Welcome to another episode of Found Footage Fridays with my co-host, Tom Reimer.
Happy to be here. Talking about something completely different this week.
Yes. Yeah. Unlike anything we've talked about.
Bordering on, as far as found footage goes, it's found footage, but it's a different interpretation of found footage for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure.
I think the closest, and I hate to really compare it to anything because there's not really anything to compare it to, but if I were to compare it to something for sure, the closest I would be able to get, I think, is Savage Land.
Yeah, definitely like mockumentary, style. So Savage Land, Lake Mungo, in feel, but even more
Blackwell Ghost, the first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
But even more so, more mockumentary, and what's, well, I can't say too much, but what's unique about this is that it's a mixture of well, I don't want to say I don't want to go too far. Why don't you give the overview, and then what I'm going to say will make more sense.
Yeah. So the movie that we are talking about today, I just realized I didn't have the year. 2020. Okay. The movie we are talking today is the 2020 found footage movie Gulf of Silence. The short description: since 1945, only a select few in the U.S. government have known the truth about UFOs. Join Dr. Laura Gale, PhD, on a guided tour through over half century of disinformation, counterespionage, and mankind's attempt to make first contact.
And Dr. Laura Gale is played by the creator of the film, correct?
Yep, M.K. Rhodes, Mina.
Who, by all accounts, my understanding did everything for this movie, right? She put this whole film together, starred in it, which is always cool when you see the director and you see the writer featured. And she is the movie.
Yep.
Right? She is the entire movie.
No one else. Yep.
And the footage, if I'm correct, the footage that is found that she's talking about in this mockumentary is footage that exists, that was out there, that she didn't necessarily create.
Right.
That it's found footage of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, right?
Yep.
So that's in itself the most unique take. It is a work of fiction, but it uses unidentified footage.
Yep.
I believe that's my understanding, at least.
Yeah, I mean, it utilizes very real, effective documentary style captures and presentation, and there's a lot of things like I think if you go, this is. There have been a few that have tricked me. And going into this one, I knew that it was a work of fiction because I had to do I was given a lot of information about kind of what happened when this film was originally released. But yeah, it's done in such a way, though, that it uses the best techniques that documentarians use for a truly realistic experience.
Yeah, it feels like this is something you'd watch on the History Channel.
1,000%. Yep.
It feels professionally produced in that way. You said this was a documentary that was from on the History Channel, or on Discovery. I believe you, but it's not. It's fictional. It is a fictional interpretation of what all this footage was. So it primarily features the story of this character discussing how they ended up becoming an expert in all these things. Which obviously we don't spoil. If you have never seen this show, we don't spoil the first half of the episode. We won't get into exactly what happens, but something happens to her which leads her to delving farther, becoming more involved in this field. But so this, you told me, I didn't know this. You told me this film isn't available to the
Yeah.
public right now.
So not to be like a giant tease, but yeah, so you actually like won't be able to see this. Unfortunately, when this came out, which was, mid pandemic, she did all of this, and I think in 2019 was when she filmed it and everything and got it ready to release in 2020. And there was a very negative community response to this because it was so realistic. People were bothering her about the way that it was made, thinking she was selling it as nonfiction, when in fact it's just a movie. It's just, it's fiction. And so the response was not all negative, but was negative enough that it made her feel more comfortable to remove the movie to not be posted to be able to be seen anymore.
It's too bad. Because it's incredibly unique. She's great. She's great.
Oh my God. I know. I know.
One of the most believable performances I've ever seen in a found footage movie.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So, and the last thing I'll say on the negative side before we jump into talking about things about the actual film is when you're a viewer, we got to stop doing this thing where we like attack actors and actresses and filmmakers and directors. It's an art. It's meant for entertainment. We've got to stop taking it so seriously to the point that we're trying to ruin other people's lives. So let's like work on that as a community. But yeah, no, I will be honest with you. So I was watching it and I was just like, I'm not exaggerating. I was mystified by this. This is one of my favorite things that I've seen in, I don't know, 5 years. I was so in love with the concept. She is so captivating. The story is just everything, the way that it unfolds. But I remember thinking when the movie came to an end, I was just like, oh my God. Like I was blown away by this because first I never even heard of it. So we have a follower of the show named Matt Gilman, and he's awesome. I follow him on Twitter. He's the one that had heard about this.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And so he reached out to her, and she's a very, very sweet woman. Very kindly gave him the link, and then he passed it on to me because he knows we do the show. I'm sure he's heard us talk about like our alien enthusiasm.
I didn't know that was how you came across this. Interesting.
Yeah, it was all mysterious to Tom. I've been leaving Tom out a lot. Sorry.
I just watch the movies and talk about them. It's, I don't need to locate the movies or dig them up out in someone's backyard either. So
yeah. Well, this was worth it because I absolutely loved this film. I think the way that this is edited together is stunning. I think her choice, like it's some of the things that I think make this so captivating to watch is the way she's chosen, the way she looks with the dark backdrop, the way she edits in clips and photos, and she's talking over them and presenting them, and just the sound of her voice and how sincere she feels when you're listening to her speak. And it just, some of the stuff that she covers, and we'll stick to, just the basics for right now. Some of the stuff she discovers just made my little alien heart like so happy. Like there were these things that she brought up and I was like, oh my God, this is like, I don't know. Like, it was just like, I found like the one like found footage movie that had like everything I've ever loved in it.
Yeah, it was a found footage movie that was made by someone who's clearly, I would guess, a documentarian or had experience making documentaries, not knowing anything about her, rather than a director of found footage movies who makes a mockumentary or a documentary style film.
Yeah.
Like that, clearly, it just felt so real. And I know, I can see why some people, I don't know if I could see why they felt the way they felt about it, but it felt so real. And so, which was for some of the most popular, most famous found footage films, see the Blair Witch Project, there was this element, and we've always talked about this, like that little something that make people think maybe it's real. It's what makes it more compelling. It's what makes the scary found footage movies. And I don't know if this one is, I would define as like a scary or even horror necessarily, but it's what makes those movies so successful. And so this one's really successful because it feels like this could be a real documentary.
Yeah.
Could be. It's not, but it could be.
Yeah. Yeah. If like Earth is wiped out by a purple glow and all that's left is this video clip, like, and people rehab it later, then they find this, they're going to think this is what happened. That's real.
Did you say if Earth was wiped out by a purple glow?
I did.
I wrote a book about that. I don't know.
Not just one.
What? No, 3.
3.
Oh, you were referencing my book.
That was the point.
Oh. It's late. I'm tired.
You could say that.
I'm getting old, I guess.
But yeah,
it's so well done. But like, I do think the most powerful thing and the most compelling aspect of this movie is the person who stars in it. She's, we watched a bunch of mockumentaries. We watched and we've talked about a lot of people who we thought were really good and really believable. Mm-hmm. But like, I actually had to ask, like, was that is the person in it? Was she the director? Was she the writer? Like, was she acting? Like, it felt.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is that there are so many documentaries about aliens or about UFOs that people could look at and say, that's not true. That's all made up. And so it's only a few degrees removed, which is from something like that. I think.
No, you're right. I think, and the other thing too is, like, through the years of talk of UFOs and extraterrestrials, there have been so many things, and this touches on this so great. It covers kind of the whole scope of what we have said as humans exist, from the way they look to what they drive to how they got here to the government. Like, I mean, literally every facet. And I think that's one of the things that I thought was such a strength too, as well, was how many different tiers of this breakdown you get.
Absolutely.
In this one thing. And then, well, I think the next thing I was going to say is probably a little bit of a spoiler, so I'll hold off. But yeah, it was just, it made it so much more compelling than I think if she had just stuck with like one thing and just focused on the one thing. But because it was driven into all these different things to get us to this one specific part towards the end, I don't know. Like, I just thought that was such smart filmmaking.
Well, the explanations are so, for what we're seeing, and it's so well thought out. It's so thorough.
Oh my God. Yeah.
For it to not be someone's real belief it feels real. It feels real, so, really, really fantastic. I think I'd love to rate this. We need to rate this. Get people excited. Mm-hmm. You want me to go first this time?
Yeah, you can go first this time.
Completely unique take on found footage films, which we're always searching for. I would say, well, not horror, probably. And there are found footage movies we talked about that don't really fall, under the horror umbrella. I would say this probably doesn't. So for me, probably cuts a couple tapes off for that, just based on, what that's a personal preference. I'm looking for scarier, more traditional found footage films. So as far as my tastes are concerned, it didn't get, as high a rating as it could have. But I'm going to give this a very solid 7.5 tapes out of 10, which is a very good rating, I think.
Yeah, I rated it, after I watched it, but it's changed a little bit the longer I've sat with it and processed
Yeah.
what I saw. So I don't think I have a single thing negative to say about this on any regard. I think, everybody's like the things that we, what am I trying to say? The things that we feel fall into certain buckets varies person to person. So like when I think aliens are like monsters, they immediately go in the horror bucket for me. But a lot of people like to make the distinction between sci-fi and horror, or they like that, so I get that this is not going to be considered a horror found footage movie for probably a lot of people. But I don't have a single complaint about this. I'm very curious to see if we ever see more from her, actually, because I really just love this. But my rating is a 9.5 out of 10 tapes. This is one that until that link expires, I will be revisiting. I absolutely loved this from start to finish. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I knew. Remember when you brought it to my attention. I could tell it was going to get one of your highest ratings.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal. And I think the thing is, like, even if other people watch this or other people who have been lucky enough to watch it and they don't rate it as high, I still think that it has something to offer for all kinds of people. I think it has like a place, and I mean it when I say I hope she does more. I really do, because she really, just the way that she wrote this and the way that it looks, like I said, she's so captivating. Like I was just really blown away with it. And I went into it completely blind. I knew nothing. And I know this is like sort of a small note, but not really, because titles really can affect things, right? Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre was almost called Head Cheese. And I think if it had been called that, but the name, The Gulf of Silence, that's got to be like the sexiest found footage name I've ever heard in my life. I love that name so much. I was like, I have no idea what that means yet, because you do find out in the movie. But I was like, that sounds so cool and weird and mysterious. I'm here for it. I just love the title.
I mean, I don't know. What was that movie? The Dinosaur, whatever, Dinosaur Project, Dinosaur Island. What was that?
Which one? That we did Dinosaur Project?
Which dinosaur found footage movie? I don't know. The one that wasn't very good.
I've made you watch 2 of them.
Neither of them was great.
I loved them both.
I'm being unserious. Yes, obviously, The Gulf of Silence was a perfect title for this movie.
But I just love the title so much, especially when she eventually explains it. I was like, I loved it.
Yeah, it's up there with like Holes in the Sky.
So good.
Our found footage titles.
God, brilliant, love it. So
is there? It's not, because it's not a traditional like plot-based sort of story that is necessarily being told. There's not. It's hard to spoil much.
Yeah, I think it's just more discussing maybe some of the theories and things that she debunks and talks about. Maybe some.
This is your jam, so you go for it.
So there's a couple of things that she addresses when she's doing her debunking, where she's talking about things and she's very point blank saying, this is made up, this is not real. And I love that she's telling this story that's like, this is real, but here's the parts of it that are not. Like, I just really love that. I thought that was really clever. So when she's talking about like the concept of the little gray men with the big eyes, and she talks about like, like some of it. So that was one of the things I loved that she talked about, was like, that's not reality. When she talked about the experience in the water, where she's talking, I forget what she names the girl that she works with. that makes first contact. I can't think of her name.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like, because she was a marine biologist.
Yep.
And so
Oh,
anyway,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so tying aliens into the water is something I've always been fascinated with because we literally know nothing about our oceans. Like, so let's just say, like, hypothetically, right? Like, they could 100% be in our oceans and we would not know.
Isn't that, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that the whole premise of The Abyss, that movie?
That
You
they
ever
lived
seen?
on there already? Maybe.
Well, they
Did they
don't necessarily,
crash?
they crash there, but like possibly like I
Oh,
wonder
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
thousands of years ago,
Well,
or it might, is that Sphere? That Sphere is another one.
I don't think I've seen
Michael
Sphere.
Crichton. Oh my God, you've not read or seen Sphere? Same idea. There's aliens at the bottom of the sea.
I love that. I think aliens and water makes sense. I
Hmm.
just do. Like, and have you seen Nope?
Yes.
So that design for that
Hmm.
ship slash
Yep.
alien is all based off of sea creatures.
Oh, that makes sense.
And I just think
Well,
that with the weird stuff that's in our water that we don't know, just makes
yeah.
sense.
Well, I love the connections she made, which I always joke that dolphins are aliens and humpback whales are aliens, and she does, seriously, but she does connect that in
Yep.
this, essentially suggesting that dolphins and whales have known for millions of years that aliens are at the bottom of the sea, and if there was anywhere aliens could hide, it would be the sea, which some people say we know less about than space, even. So
It's crazy. Yeah.
uh,
I don't know
makes
about
sense.
less than, but I do think that it's like whenever we start talking about like cryptids, the one cryptids I will never say just couldn't possibly exist are the ones in the water. Loch Ness monster,
Well,
100% could be real.
that's I agree. So like, if there was a dinosaur that managed to survive, whatever it is, a plesiosaurus or the Loch Ness monster, it's believable that could have happened. Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think that yeah, there were a lot of things. I think I always appreciate things that come from a place of like this is real, but this isn't. Like there's just something
Yeah.
about that
It,
that
it
just
made
can
it feel more real. Yeah.
it makes it feel more real because it's like, oh, well, if they're going to talk about these other things, then surely, you know what I mean? Like it just adds some validity to it. But
Sure.
no, I loved the breakdown, the stuff she talked about with the government, the agents or the group that she worked with. I don't know if you call it an agency, but what you like that she worked with, like how it started with her seeing lights on an airplane
Yeah.
and then talking about the experience and how it like cost her like she says this cost me the
Yeah.
love of my life, it cost me my job, like all these things. And I loved the low-key like Men in Black situation, like the guys coming up in the suits,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
love stuff like that. It's so fun. I just really, really love it. And I think that that's the thing that I'm always looking for with anything related to aliens or UFOs is something that takes these ideas and elevates them to something we haven't seen before. And I think she
Mhm.
just nailed that.
I loved, and I can't remember if it was towards the end of the movie
Mhm.
where they're trying to make contact
Yeah.
and they're flashing, they're doing Morse code,
Mhm.
flashing some light down into the depths of the sea, and they're
Yep.
getting no reaction. And eventually they just write contact or something like that. And then the response is no contact. And then the spacecraft, which it reminds me, the description sort of reminds me of like the spacecraft in Independence Day, like completely blotted out
Oh,
the
yeah.
sun sort of
Yeah.
spacecraft.
Yeah.
And, the idea that like you spend all this time trying to make contact with these creatures, what if they have no interest?
They just don't want to. I
Um,
loved that
then
premise.
that's what's just like heartbreaking, and like, how do you keep going forward with that if they're, and even the idea that she explores this, like even the idea that uh maybe maybe it's best we don't make contact with them. Maybe if they wanted to, don't you think they
Yeah.
would have already contacted us? And then um you know the 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 idea that that more advanced more advanced societies, and beings, anytime they come into contact with inferior ones, what happens? They conquer them, wipe them out. And why would we want that? Because we're assuming these would be more advanced beings.
Yeah. I love
That's
that part.
Yeah, she really sort of fleshes all that out.
God, I love this so much.
But we can't encourage people to go watch this like we typically would.
I think it's like and the other thing I love, so the Gulf of Silence, she asked, she was talking to this partner female that she worked with in the agency or whatever you want to call it. I cannot remember. She named her like Samantha or something random, to, not say her real name, but she says that there is a gulf of silence between us and them, and that's what they're trying to bridge so that they can communicate. And I just thought that was beautiful. I love that concept. Coming up with the title, brilliant, loved it. Unfortunately we can't, and I know that probably seems really unfair, but I think it at least brings light to just how you behave on the internet and how it affects other people, because now there's there's people that will never get to see this film, and it's I hope we see more from her. She said that she doesn't think she's ever going to release it again, but I'm hoping that maybe some positivity will come her way. Maybe she'll rethink it, because I think there's a lot of people, especially in like our circles, that would genuinely just eat this up and would just be so happy to have it to consume, and and so
well, thank you for bringing it to my attention. I feel fortunate that we got to talk about it on the show.
Yeah, me too. And MK, if you're watching, thanks for letting us cover it. I know it might have been a little scary to do so, but hopefully we were respectful and we did right by you, and you're happy with the final review. Yeah, well, that's all. I think that's all I had. Did you have anything else you wanted? Final thoughts?
No.
We don't know what we're doing next because we're waiting on recommendations in the comments.
Please give us some more. We're looking for more films that we haven't covered yet.
Yes.
I know there's some new ones. There's some new ones out there. I shared with Angel a list of some of the more popular titles out there right now, some of the newer ones, but please, guys, send us some.
Yeah, really got to get you on Apple TV so you can watch the Mario video. Mario, whatever it is. Mario.
Mario?
No, Mario.
Yeah.
Maru, it's like Mariu video.
Okay.
You'll like it it's on. We'll figure it out. Anyway, also, in case you missed it in the previous video, make sure that you go check out this awesome YouTube channel called Video Tasties. The slogan is protecting the past one VHS tape at a time. These guys do a lot of media stuff. 80s list, top list, physical media, collaborations, anything movie, film related, you can find there. There's some awesome, like tons of stuff for you to check out on their channel. I'll make sure to link them in the description for this episode. Yes, we don't know what we're covering next, but leave us suggestions, because we do watch the recommendations. Like at this point, we've done several episodes that have just been recommended movies. So we do list it and we do take them and do things with them. So anyway, cool. Well, I think that's all we have for this episode of Found Footage Fridays. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks for hanging out with us. And Tom and I will see you next week.
See you next week.